You know, there is that misconception that people under my video about hard swaps make that hard swapping basically is an exploit for the equip load. It's like, it's not working that way. It's like, there is no way it is exploit, first of all. It is just like a literally basic game mechanic. Even if From Software didn't think that people gonna be doing stuff that way, they would definitely disable this option long time ago. As even item crafting menu getting disabled when you're in the combat. So they are like systems for that. They could have easily disabled possibility to enter inventory, but they are not doing that. And there is reason for that, that's for sure. I think like people also misunderstand. It's not like if hard swapping would be not possible, it is not like people would just do dedicated builds where they would be using the greatsword with like secondary weapon. No, people just would not be using the heavy weapons, and that's about it. So yeah, like I don't think it is good idea to make such limitations. It just legitimately lowers the variety in the game. Disabling hard swapping is just not a good idea. To play devil's advocate, I can sort of see where they're coming from. Like there is like a plenty of good opinions. There is also plenty of terrible opinions. But yeah, like I can see where people coming from, that's for sure. Some takes are very, very good. Are there a lot of people who don't like weapon swaps? There is a lot of people that, well, I basically, it seems like it is first of all relatively heated discussion. This video has like 400 comments. People have a lot of concerns about hard swapping from the perspective of, hey, hard swapping actually kind of is an exploit to equip load. Because you do not have to respect equip load, you don't have to utilize the secondary slots, and therefore like it is exploit, which is not like, you know, it's not like, you know, using the hard swaps makes soft swaps completely irrelevant. I still use them and I think they are very useful. It's just that if you had no hard swaps at all, I simply would not use heavy weapons like greatswords. Instead, I would be using lighter weapons, and that's about it. It's like it doesn't make like the soft swap slots irrelevant. It's more like makes weapons that normally would be not used in the PvP on somewhat decent level actually usable. Like for me, it's not physically impossible to run and hard swap at the same time. You can still hard swap by telling your playstyle and not being dumb. You don't have to hard swap at all. Hard swap is only like some sort of the strategy. You can just focus on mastering one type of the weapon. Hasn't hard swap always been the thing? It was. None of my people are talking about hard swapping or soft swapping. I don't think people care all that much, except we have a few super weirdos. I personally have no problem with hard swapping. Who cares? You quick change weapons. If the build can hold it, use it. Who gives a damn? You ain't exploiting. So about like build, by the way, it's like people make that argument as well that your equip load doesn't matter. It does. You're like it in fact. In my case, it is simple like that. Instead of counting like right now, I, for example, want to use Banished Knight's Halberd. I want to use Godskin Stitcher. So it is how much? It is 8 plus 7. So I have like 15 OZ. I want to use 17 max, yeah? If I would be like using build where I only hard swap, then I just take off these weapons. And I get myself the weapon that is basically on the limit, and that's about it. It's just like there is the only difference is in the method which you are using to determine your max equip load. The only issue I have had with hard swapping is when someone just keeps swapping to something that hard counters what you are using, so you are forced to use something stronger and stronger until we are both using stronger shit available. But like, you know, this is utopian type of thinking, because when you're hard swapping, you are vulnerable. It's not like you can just, you know, hard swap without thinking about anything. I don't think you can swap that much even with macros. Macros are not really the answer to be honest. Macros, first of all, it is cheating essentially, so you shouldn't. Second of all, they are going to make you worse player. So this is another reason why you definitely shouldn't use macros. What is the most important is macros might simply work against effectiveness of your playstyle. Because sometimes you have situations that you have to cancel the swap. Sometimes you have to think what you're doing and so on, yeah? You would need to put so many different fucking macros, and as far as I know, macros are not perfect as well. They might not work, you might cancel the input with the another input and so on and so forth. Because hey, you still have to rely on timing. It's not like you can swap the macro to like 1 millisecond and everything gonna get swapped. No. You kind of, you know, have to adjust for the timings and so on. Well, I haven't used macros, this is my assumption, but probably if you're gonna use macros, you're going to end up just fucking yourself up because of the bad swaps with bad timings. Hard swapping is an escalation, it's adaptation. At the core of this, the people against hard swapping just can't do it easily because they refuse to practice and they are insecure about it. I don't know if I can agree. Some people just genuinely, you know, I would prefer to not attack the person rather their argument. They are not saying the argument that they cannot do that, yeah? So I assume that they have different reasons. So I will chalk it down to skill issue. This is coming from a guy who doesn't care enough to do it often. I accept that on another guy might and that it was available to me and I choose not to out of laziness. I might die for it, I might not. Oh well, GG. I'm like, you know, it's up to your preference. But my main point is that it is simply not possible to swap into counter set for everything. Yeah, like, it's skill determined as well, yeah? And setup determined. Like, if you are going to set up things correctly, maybe you can somewhat, like, make it more possible than less possible, but still, it is really skill determined. I like that take about whatever you try hard do isn't skillful. There was one crazy guy that said stuff like that. It's like, you know, the problem is Souls games by nature are casual games and therefore they attract the casual audience, not the competitive audience. And by competitive audience, I mean like people that just playing competitive games, that are solely focused on ranking up, that are solely focused on some sort of the competition against other players, yeah? Normally people that are, well, sweating or tryharding, being somewhat respected. If you are good at the game, you are being respected. In Souls games, it is like people being mostly respected to certain level. If you are good, like, for example, Chase the Bro or something like that, then you are being respected because the guy is, like, better than vast majority of the Elden Ring audience, but still not exactly represent the level of the best player in the field, yeah? But then it is just enough for people because they see the guy as that honorable invader that is not exploiting, yeah, and stuff. Which is not exactly the case, because people have like wrong understanding what is exploiting or what's not. So sometimes they call exploiting something that is not exploiting. It is, you know, some sort of fallacy in thinking of if someone is too good, it equals that that person is just straight up cheating. It is a weird concept. People call Moonveil and Rivers of Blood exploiting. Well, people call Rivers of Blood overpowered. Whereas, like, you know, it's kind of overpowered to what? You need to have comparison. It is annoying, that's true. It is simple to use, that's true. But is it overpowered? Like, I mean, it doesn't instant proc Blade unless you're invading at level 50, but then you can be only, like, you're responsible for your misery, yeah? Because level 50 has very little amount of the status effect defenses. Plus, people from the higher levels can simply use the password to scale down without actually downscaled status effect on the weapons. And therefore just instant bleed you, yeah? But they would instant bleed you with anything else, and even easier. Rivers of Blood bullshit is just as byproduct of status staggers being dumb as shit. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, people targeting wrong thing. People supposed to be targeting bleed as it's called, not Rivers of Blood. Rivers of Blood, even like by pure damage on its own, is really not that great. It is okay tool if you just use the weapon art, but that's about it, yeah? Well, people can have their opinions and stuff, but I think overall thinking as hard swapping is exploiting instead of something that frees up more variety in the builds and kind of allows you to counter potential hard counters in form of the statistical advantages, to the point that you basically have to hit the enemy 3 times versus he has to hit you like once to even up the trade. It's just kind of, I guess it is just misconception.